Mais
Committed a
je
crime.
crois
Now I have to free you,
crime, je
kiss your hand and apologize for the inconvenience. Your Grace.
I did tell you that Mr. Vogel and I were innocent. I emphasized it in my statement.
Your statement? Thanks to some bigwigs who work for the so-called good of the country by releasing fleas like you. Thank God we had Vogel in his letter. Once I get to that goldfish, I'll...
Bigwig. Oh, my wretched brother Mycroft and his long nose.
Wait, did you say Mycroft? Mycroft Holmes? Are you the youngest son of Violet Holmes, rest her soul?
C'est
You
vrai?
knew my mother?
Not personally, no.
Bah, on l'avait pas vu.
Not
Ah non, il avait
exactly.
plus de barbe l'autre.
I was working on the paperwork for that case.
C'est pas le même
Would you
policier qu'on a vu
happen to
tout au début
remember
du jeu.
anything of the events?
Well,
Donc il ne connaît pas.
I didn't make the inquiry, but I remember seeing some notes. Why?
You must help me. It would mean a great deal to me if you could find any information about that day.
Huh. Got you hooked, right? You know what? Stark and the others think they're the smartest here, thanks to you. Let me get this straight. Are you listening to me, lad?
I'm all ears.
Take this case. Report to me only, to Constable Harvey Oswald. I'll leave everything I have on this table. Find the murderer. Be a real copper. Question the suspects, make them sing, give me something substantial.
And if Mr. Vogel is not a suspect?
If he's innocent, then you can take your favourite degenerate away from here. If you slip or mess with the evidence, then trust me, your brother won't save you from my bludgeon. Meanwhile, I'll be checking the archive for you. If anybody asks, then you're a consulting detective.
Let's make a start then, partner.
Ok. Un partenariat avec la police.
I'm glad we managed to get the scoop before the raid.
Ok. Il m'a donné du coup un nouveau... une seconde. Ah, je peux changer de tenue ici. Ok, carnet d'affaires. Veuillez m'arrêter lors de la descente au manoir en lâchant Oswald. M'a remis en liberté. Celui-ci affirme qu'il peut retrouver les documents traitant de la mort de ma mère si, en échange, je l'aide à résoudre cette affaire. J'ai accepté son marché. L'argent restera posté au archive pendant mon enquête. Il a laissé tous les éléments dont il dispose sur l'affaire sur la table. Et donc ce dernier, comme un des principaux suspects, a été placé en état d'arrestation. La faible reçu une paire de boutons, de manchettes et de... Alors, rapport numéro 62-60, à la suite d'un signalement donné par un témoin ayant assisté à un rituel satanique et qui aurait en outre découvert un corps, la descente sur le manoir Manchio a été autorisée. Celle-ci a entraîné l'arrestation de plusieurs suspects et la dispersion du groupe d'individus pourtant masqués et robes surpris au milieu d'actes grossièrement indécents et contre nature. Le corps de la victime a été retrouvé étendu sur un autel avec une blessure au couteau au niveau de la poitrine. Les agents de police ont identifié le mort, Fabio, un artiste de charme local âgé de 20 ans. Le suspect appréhendé, Monsieur Vol, était sur sa personne une lettre de caractère injurieux écrite par la victime. Il prétend avoir trouvé le corps. Il est réputé pour sa personnalité excentrique. Sherlock Holmes possédait l'arme du crime, une dague imprégnée du sang de la victime, ainsi qu'un autre objet d'intérêt. Monsieur Holmes a été convié à la soirée par le principal suspect, Volgal, je sais pas comment ça se prononce. A priori, dans le but d'entraver l'enquête officielle. Mancho. Le propriétaire du manoir et organisateur de la soirée satanique a payé la victime pour participer au rituel avec accès à la scène du crime. Matista, partenaire de Fabio et autres participants du rituel, a essayé de s'échapper et a résisté lors de l'arrestation. Il possédait un livre contenant une description du rituel exécuté dans la salle de l'hôtel. Okay. Plusieurs victimes ont été placées en détention provisoire. Interrogation, pardon. Interrogatoire. Ouais. Approfondi. Ah, c'est la même chose. Des
Back on
clés.
track to solve the case.
L'auteur de ce ticket est autorisé à examiner toutes les preuves relatives à l'affaire numéro 6260. Moi, oui. Déposition du témoin. Je suis signé Santos Penchetti, atteste de mon témoignage signalant un meurtre suspecté au manoir Moncho dans le Grand Cerveau. Alors que la maisonnée s'affaire... Wow, c'est des mots c'est complexe. J'allais au préparatif de la fête. J'ai entendu des bruits terribles provenant de la salle de l'hôtel qui était fermée. Immédiatement, j'ai pensé un sacrifice de quelques êtres vivants orchestrés par Kurt Manchio. En personne venant d'avoir lieu, je voyais déjà le sang sur les murs, des symboles étranges, un poignard dans le cœur. Dès l'instant où j'ai retrouvé l'usage de mes facultés, je me suis précipité au poste de police afin d'y rapporter mes observations. C'est lui qui est parti, ok. Le policier a réagi à la déposition en envoyant une patrouille, tandis que le témoin et le poste pour rentrer chez lui. C'est donc lui qui a dénoncé. Ah,
Look, I found Werner.
il est où, Werner? Là-bas.
Werner, are you all right?
Oh, yes, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother
Réunion
spent
de
quite some
famille.
time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the
Ah,
police
son
everything I
frère.
knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Son
Ah.
frère jumeau.
What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death for me.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
Non. Non.
There are lines I will not cross, Werner. I will do my best to secure your release, but with proof,
Ouais, t'as foutu un.
not deception.
Really? How many white lies have you told on this island? Why not for me? Why not another?
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti,
Do I know him?
the major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. All but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Cet homme est invisible. Ok. Ok. Penchetti est un suspect qui doit être arrêté et interrogé. Il possédait une clé de détail qui a omis à sa déposition. Et le fils de... Non. Ok. Théo a été tué dans un meurtre rituel. Il a été sacrifié sur l'autel au cours d'un rituel occulte ou alors le rituel était une diversion. Le rituel a été mise en scène afin de servir de diversion pour la véritable mobilité. Bon, je pense que c'est ça. Puis c'est plutôt l'autre côté. Pour l'instant, ça a changé. Ok. Il faut parler à...
Good day, Mr. Manchios. I am Constable Oswald's partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained boors. Although I don't mind meeting young officers. The new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the boars again.
That voice. Werner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the
Bien, la
entire
phrase que je viens de dire.
department through my consultations.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy after all.
I need to examine you first.
Ok, observé. Qui est moche. Le maquillage. Son de la tenue. C'est trop vite laver les mains. Très cher. Extrêmement riche, excentrique et frivoleux. Pardon. L'exonateur d'une souris réservée à l'élite cordonnaise et le propriétaire du manoir en chiot. J'en ai côtoyé d'autres mentis dans son genre, toutefois je mesure cacher son âge véritable. Jeune de cette soirée. Ok. Alors, monsieur, toutefois, celui-ci a fait de lui un homme. Ouais, non, je pense pas.
You are a little over the top with your use of makeup, Mr. Manchios. Is it so difficult for you to acknowledge your age?
Well, Sherlock, that's easy for you to say to an old man when you look as though you are barely 15.
But still, it shouldn't be an issue for someone of your status.
For people of my age, it isn't an issue, no. But the younger ones can be so afraid of wrinkles and grey flecks. I have to adapt.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient, or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little details. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. Otherwise, I'll be sobbing.
An expensive
Yeah.
champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here with you alone.
Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
Oh, le gros
He's a pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party.
I'd like to know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true labourers, I see.
Je vais lui poser la question pour
That's not
No,
something I know
doesn't.
much about.
lui.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Manchios?
Of course, it was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police.
Ouais, je pense que c'est lui, ok. Avec je lui ai proposé.
You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else. You'd better ask someone else. I've no idea about that.
C'est sur lui en ce moment les deux. Mais comment
I've no idea
dire
about that.
aussi en fait.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive show?
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protege and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him.
Ok, bon, c'est pas lui qui. Pour moi, c'est pas lui qui a fait le crime. Son chouchou préféré, il lui dit. Je ferai pour le débauche. On préparerait pour la soirée des débauches qu'il peut dépasser. Ah. Ou alors il s'est lavé après le meurtre. Ok. Merde. Ok.
I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald. You are Matista, Fabio's friend.
This body, yes, it's Matista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
Wow.
Fabio knew the risks. Selling his body to degenerates who hid behind robes and masks, it could not end well.
That's only your distorted understanding of safety.
Elle a été
Officers
agressée là.
They wear robes and masks too.
Elle a des marques.
It's a dangerous
Elle est
lifestyle.
vachement maquillée aussi.
But it's not as though we were given many other choices.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
Elle a aussi des gratinures. Là. Infligée à elle-même, ok. Nerveux. marque Fabio. Dans l'intérêt véritable, Lucie. Moi, je pense que ça. Je pense que ça.
Fabio and yourself were slaves, am I correct? You have a similar branding on your body.
Yes. It was a long time ago.
Couldn't help but also notice fresh cuts upon your forearms.
The cuts helped me to forget my past, to cover the old wounds and hide them.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day.
Ugh.
We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Gordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
The bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes.
Pas faux. Lors de l'arrestation de Fabio a blessé mes petits papiers. Et si on le change, il y a un truc qui est en lien là. Ok. On va voir c'est les invités. Ok. Ensuite, on doit parler à qui?
I know you can untangle this mess.
Celle-là.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
I know I can handle the news.
Ok. Y a personne. Elle là, y a personne.
This area is restricted.
Ok. Qu'est-ce qu'on va dire? On a dit. Qu'est-ce qu'ils font là? Archie.
You'd better ask me a question I know how to answer. You'd better ask me a question I
Okay.
know how to answer. I've nothing to say about this.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. Could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay here. They brought him in, Mr. Holmes. Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.
Ok. Notre ami Santos. Putain, ils sont en train de boire comme des trous. Là. Je sais pas, je peux me plonger.
What a long day.
7 c'est en bas ou c'est... Non, c'est l'interrogatoire, c'est en haut. 3, 5...
Mr. Pinchetti, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald.
I've already told him everything I know. I'm only a witness, sir. Everything's in my report.
And I've read it. You forgot to mention that you hold the keys to the room where Fabio was found. I need only to find if the crime was intentional.
But I need to return to my duties.
I doubt the house will fall without you, Mr. Pinchetti. Just be still for a few seconds.
Putain, il a pas l'air en bon état le type. Marcher dans du sang. Bah dis. Et tu le serveur, je pense. Facile.
You are the major domo of a rich mansion, and you seem barely able to afford decent clothing. You hide under heavy makeup a skin disease that might be treated with more onerous but less harmful means. Do you have money troubles?
I do not have a lot of means. The pay is below what you might expect.
But you could easily change your job if your employer does not meet your elementary needs.
One can change his employer, that is true.
And the blood on your shoe, where does that come from?
I don't actually know. Perhaps from a guest?
Did you know Fabio?
Not personally. He was a frequent guest, and cleaning the mess after his performances was tedious. Mr. Manchios always had a role for him, and mainly the leading one. The parties were always Fabio-centric.
Le gars il dit
Ametista? Was she as popular
invité
as her
du
partner?
sang.
Don't tell her I said this, but I do not think so.
De se mourir.
Mr. Manchios hired her only because Fabio refused to work without her. Mr. Manchios used to see her as a worker. She was tasked with entertaining the guests, unlike Fabio, who could pick and choose.
Ok. Ça me paraît super. N'a pas remarqué la tache de sang sur le flanc de ses chaussures quand il s'est lavé après le meurtre. Attacher ça en telle de sang, ok. Ouais. Ok. Je peux plus rien demander aux autres.
I know I can handle the news.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
Non.
Continue our investigation while I look for the papers.
Ok. Du coup, je leur pose la question à nous.
The air here is rather refreshing. I'd even recommend that some of my friends visit the place.
Please let me out.
Bah, j'ai interrogé qui du coup. Peut-être un truc avec le carnet mental du coup. On peut en déduire quelque chose à mon avis. Donc, à mon avis, le rituel était une diversion. Et c'est pas accidentel. Mais là, ça enlève tout. On passe qu'on doit en déduire. Oui, je peux switch entre les deux. Pas plus de trucs quand il est tué dans le rituel. Bizarre. Je combats ce qui est censé en ressortir.
Continue our investigation.
Parce que là, les tickets en sont full, le signature en sont full aussi.
While I look for the papers.
Il y a peut-être un truc à trouver dans la cellule 7. Ok. C'était ça.
I recognize the key from the altar room among these.
Sur le message joint au testament, on peut lire Santos mollusque. Plein d'espoir que tu es, tu m'as supplié de t'inclure dans mon testament, alors je me suis exécuté. Pardon. Voici donc la dernière révision du document en question. Tête du testament lui-même, en dessous du message, château de le majordome, tu mélanges un restaurant en pot de cire à moustache, ainsi qu'une lampe de sel léguée par lesquelles il se rappellera toujours son employeur. J'ai compris le rapport là. J'imagine c'est ça.
Mr. Manchios says that you begged him to be included in the heritage. Isn't that a little extreme, even for a major domo?
He's not only my employer, he's my uncle. And I'm his next of kin. The only one. Mr. Manchios flatly refuses to pay a family member. All I have to do is repay his so-called love, cleaning up the filth after perverts and decadents. He's imprisoned me. The best I can hope for is a new broom. That's why I wanted to have my part of the inheritance.
Is it that bad? You have a roof above your head, a salary, and the status of a major domo.
For God's sake. I'm forced to dye and stitch my threadbare clothes, and the holes in my shoes are painful. I'm ashamed every time a guest looks at me closely.
Why do you think your uncle treats you this way?
My mother, my uncle's sister, had me illegitimately. She died, and I was given the surname of one of the maids.
But you are entitled to some of the money that belongs to your family.
He thinks not. I was not responsible for my mother's death. I work hard, and he pays me nothing. I feed on the leftovers. While he wastes our estate's property on decadent parties, he paid Fabio handsomely and showered him with expensive gifts for their disgusting relationship.
Mhm. Encore parler. 8.
You've got a lot to do, Sherlock.
I know I can handle the
Ah,
news.
ça, lui.
I've read the letter about your will. A harsh method of ridiculing Santos. I doubt he will use mustache wax when he wears no mustache to begin with.
Where did you get it? Is the slug here? Tell him I shouldn't have to provide for him. He's a grown man who shouldn't sit on his uncle's neck. He conceives himself as my only heir.
And who is he to you?
He's a leech on my aging body. He has only added problems to my life since the death of his mother.
I fail to see why you made him your major domo.
He needed to know his place, so I taught him.
Mhm. Ok, du coup c'est ça qui manquait. T'es forcé de travailler pour Crut Monchio, en attendant désespéré de recevoir son héritage en vent. C'est peut-être pas ça, du coup, peut-être un truc. Je vais voir avec l'agent.
Continue our investigation while I look. The papers.
Peut-être à l'entrée. Je peux donner des preuves.
Would you like to report a crime? Would you like to report a crime?
Is this familiar to you?
Why don't
Toi,
you
toi, je
go
voulais.
ask your fellow coppers?
Do you know anything about this?
Unfortunately, my casebook is empty on this.
This isn't working. You might need a different tack.
Oh, ça va. Hein. Bon, du coup, c'est dans le palais mental. Mais il serait affiché quelque chose, je pense, non? Ah, ça n'est pas égal au ça. Ok, juste vraiment une version. Ah, ok, donc faut pas que. Ouais. Ouais, je suis juste con en fait. C'est moi qui suis con. T'as jamais noté de sens. Donc pour moi, c'est lui qui a fait le meurtre. Il s'est juste préparé. Laissé par les invités. Alors que c'est l'un seul, lui, il a fait le meurtre. Enfin, J'avais pas en déduire une... Il va me manquer quelque chose. Je pense qu'il manque quelque chose dans les affaires. Où il nous a interrogé. C'était là donc. Pas grand chose en fait. Ouais. Alors c'est ça. Non.
Can I ask you a question?
I can't help you, officer. Perhaps other people know more.
Continue our investigation while I look at the papers.
J'en sais rien moi, je comprends pas ce qu'il faut faire. Je vois pas à qui je dois parler avec ça. Non, il doit manquer encore quelque chose.
Help me, please.
Oh, I don't know about that. Ask one of the others.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
I know I can handle the news.
Please let me out.
The air here is rather refreshing. I'd even recommend that some of my friends visit the place.
Y'a rien sur les tables. Je comprends pas ce que je dois faire. Non, il y aurait le petit signe. Mais c'est juste quand il y a le signe de bulle de conversation. Je peux parler à quelqu'un. C'est que personne n'y a à l'affaire. C'est ce que je fais tout à l'heure. La salle de pièces d'éviction. Elle est. C'est ça qu'il faut que je cherche. Ah bah peut-être là.
Good day. Your ticket, please, if you
My
want
bad.
to help you.
Mon ticket.
I'd like to check the evidence from this case.
And who are you?
Oswald sent me. I'm a consulting detective.
His partner, then? Let me see. Ah, a ritual murder. What a bunch of degenerates. Wait a second. I'll bring it to the table.
Ok.
A heavily perfumed handkerchief with the initials KM in the corner.
Ok.
All the keys of the mansion on one golden ring. It's a miracle this ruby hasn't tempted anyone.
Une fiole.
A handcrafted charm that contains hair and nail clippings. Her key to the altar room.
Un livre.
That's
Le livre
not
du
for
rituel.
bedtime reading. This ex libris belongs to Manchios Library.
La police a trouvé ce livre occulte dans le sac de Matha lors de son arrestation, selon l'ex-libri. Le tome en question a été pris dans la collection de Monsieur Manchio. Il renferme des illustrations ainsi que des descriptions détaillant un rituel similaire à celui observé sur la scène du crime. Préparer le corps nu d'un être bien-aimé ayant récemment péri, tracer les symboles de Mars et de Vénus, amplifier vraiment le pouvoir qui réside en vous et invoquer les forces des natures masculines, féminines. Transpercez-lui le cœur à l'aide d'une dague dorée afin de vous débarrasser du sang qui ne vous aime point. Ok. Tracez un symbole représentant votre amour en attendant la résurrection. Récitez le charme.
The book describes a ritual similar to the one performed in the
Donc
altar.
ça serait pas forcément un meurtre caché par le rituel, mais vraiment juste le rituel. La lettre qui figurait parmi les preuves à charge de Volkel. Tu n'as pas de la raison, tu n'es pas capable de contrôler ton propre ressentiment. En tout cas, pas en ma présence. Quant à moi, je ne peux pas me permettre d'ignorer ce genre de comportement. Je me lis, m'entretiens et me divertis avec qui bon me semble. Je ne suis pas une autre Matista. Tu me paies, mais tu ne m'as pas acheté. Naturellement, je compte garder tous tes dons généreux, même s'ils pardonnant à peine ton dernier accès object comme il était. Je vais t'ouvrir ce phrase, j'avoue. Te quitte, mais Matista, elle restera encore ici.
Not the time for privacy. Werner's personal sketchbook.
Canon de croquis version l'honneur.
An emergency kit.
Sur
Report.
repos contre
Thank you,
l'ennui.
officer.
Ok. Selon les liens de Santos Peccetti et le contenu de la lettre, il se peut que celle-ci fut adressée à Kurzschon à Manchio. Donc il faut parler de la lettre. Là-bas.
I don't think I can tell you anything about this.
This letter proves nothing. Fabio wrote it to Mr. Manchios. It's time to free Mr. Vogel.
Do you really think I'm that naive? I need proof, not words from his friend.
Very well. Mr. Pinchetti told me that Mr. Manchios was lavishing Fabio with expensive and eccentric gifts. The letter mentions rich rewards and attempts to buy Fabio with them. It was written to Mr. Manchios. Who else was showering Fabio with luxuries to buy him? It doesn't fit Mr. Vogel's character.
Look here. We had a deal. Give me the murderer and then take your friend with you. I won't budge otherwise.
Well, fine, but you're just wasting time.
Voilà. Ça nous avance à rien. Nous devons parler à lui.
Do you recognize this book? Could Matista have borrowed it from your library?
She didn't ask me. How ungrateful.
The things described in the book were inspiration for the rituals you performed?
Do you really believe that blood, symbols, and incantations can resurrect the dead? They are just eerie tales with a mix of occultism and voodoo. My rituals are a stage to show some of the forbidden pleasures.
There is undeniable evidence that you were the original recipient of this letter.
What are you talking about? Is it addressed to me?
Your protege wanted a fresh start, it seems. This is sufficient to charge you.
Me? Hurt my star? Are you insane that you would accuse me of such a thing?
He did not consider himself as yours. Since you deny everything, let's move on. Do you have any idea as to how the letter could have ended up in Mr. Vogel's pocket?
You were the detective. Perhaps he took it from Fabio. Werner was a little high.
Elle est où la porte?
Let's continue our chat a little later. This book, The Power of Love, Blood and Mandrake, what do you hope to achieve?
To learn more about the invisible strengths that govern us. Occultism is real. The master who fell that night when Fabio and I escaped, I made him fall. I cast a spell on him and it worked.
Or was it a coincidence?
The universe is rarely so lazy.
If you say so. Could Fabio have written this letter to Kurt Manchios?
Oh. That could be. I never thought Mr. Manchios could make Fabio that angry, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Fabio wanted to disassociate from Mr. Manchios. Clients who are in love are both a blessing and a curse.
But Fabio was here tonight.
Money. In our line of work, we can't afford to turn down clients who pay as well as Kurt Manchios.
Was Fabio afraid of Mr. Manchios?
Not at all. The old toad wouldn't dare to do more than sweet talk and touching. Talk can be forgotten, and touching washed away.
Do you practice occult rituals?
For protection? For fortune? To wash away the ugliness of the world? Sometimes to survive. I have the gift, and I'm learning to use it better.
Did you use your gift on Fabio?
I only used white magic. Love charms lately. Fabio became so distant. I just wanted him to be with me, but I suppose I'm not as skilled as I thought.
I don't think I can tell you anything on this.
I have reason to believe that the intended recipient of the incriminating letter may have been Kurt Manchios.
Well, that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember how I came to possess it. Though I did spend quite some time with Mr. Manchios during the party.
Unfortunately, even with an answer, that may still not be enough to clear you with the police. But fear not, I will persevere.
I hope your attempt to put things straight will make up for...
You being on a bender?
Touché.
Ok. Palais mental. Alors, la lettre et son état second. La lettre lui-même, alors qu'il était dans un état second. On va engendrer, pas dur. Substance, ok. Mais tu vas peut-être exécuter le rituel sur Fabio dans le but de raviver l'amour que ce dernier lui portait jadis. Ah, abuser du monde là. Ok, Fabio provoqué en courte version. Oh, je suis pardon. Un soudain quoi. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'on a? On va juste lire ce qu'il y a marqué. Une âme brisée, une vertige occulte. Donc ça serait le meurtre. A fait appel à un être occulte pour se venger de sa misérable fille. Elle a poignardé Fabio pour le garder à ses côtés et doit être tenu responsable de ses actes. Tout juge digne de ce nom la condamnerait à la peine de mort sans hésiter. C'est le produit d'une vie tourmentée. Elle ne distingue pas le bien du mal. Elle désirerait que son bien-aimé Fabio reste toujours à ses côtés. Elle mérite qu'on l'aide, la soigne et lui offre une chance de tourner la page sans un asile. Ok. Bon, alors c'est Santosh, le meurtrier. Peter de redresse, Santosh pour redresser sa situation n'avait qu'un seul moyen, se débarrasser de son oncle monstrueux. Il devrait être emprisonné pour meurtre, pardon, mais a assez souffert et mérite à nouveau départ une fois sa peine purgée. Okay. Après des années d'humiliation, il a concocté un plan visant à éliminer son oncle. Or, la misère et le désespoir ne justifient guère le meurtre. Il est dangereux et mérite qu'on lui passe la corde au cou. Ou alors, c'est Kurt qui a fait le meurtre. Il a le cœur brisé, a cédé à la panique et ne voulait pas tuer Fabio. Le rituel improvisé n'était qu'une tentative désespérée de cacher le crime. Une peine de prison devrait suffire car le vrai châtiment est la perte de son bien-aimé. Ça a été Fabio de sang-froid. Il a déguisé son crime en rituel afin d'incriminer Matista et à placer la lettre dans la poche de Volkel pour écarter les soupçons. Il n'a aucune considération pour la fille d'autrui et mérite la potence. Ou alors je peux accuser Volkel, j'imagine. Si je fais ça, Volkel le second. Non, je peux pas accuser Volkel, ok, je peux accuser les trois. Ok. Bah, j'ai plus qu'à aller vers quelqu'un et puis l'accuser. Je vais juste voir le... là. Le policier.
Continue our investigation
Ok.
while I look at the papers.
Alors. C'est le moment d'accuser quelqu'un. Ou alors ça sert de la diversion. Mais là, est-ce que j'ai des preuves contre lui? Je une preuve contre lui. Pour moi, c'est le... c'est lui. Mais il aurait fait ça... Mais après, est-ce que j'ai des preuves? Ça pourrait être une preuve. Il aurait fait ça pour l'argent. Après, il a pas le profil, hein. Il a pas la gueule du gars qui l'aurait buté. Hein. C'est un flot.
Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Pinchetti. We'll continue later.
Elle aussi, elle pourrait largement le faire. Elle aurait utilisé le livre Le pouvoir de l'amour. Donc, écrit cette lettre. Allez, on va accuser le propriétaire.
The murder of Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. It was staged by a man who wished to distract the investigation.
That might be true. That poor girl Matista wouldn't dare to kill the only man who cared for her. So, Santos.
Mr. Pinchetti snatched at the chance to solve his problems.
Ungrateful little scum. Will he be executed?
But what for? He informed the police as to the crime, that was all. He couldn't stage the ritual, but he found the body, I believe.
I can't believe it. Why did Werner do it?
Mr. Vogel. He had no reason, and he won't be a scapegoat as you plan. You put Fabio's letter in his pocket when he was intoxicated, didn't you?
You can't be serious.
Ah.
We can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes or their fingernails. You are a meticulous person, but this murder was fairly traumatic and filthy. After you stabbed Fabio, you were covered in blood. You panicked and neglected to rinse the soap from under your fingernails. The devil is in the details, Mr. Manchios.
Nonsense. I missed it simply because of the busy schedule of the party.
Of course, a staged murder was certainly not planned. You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you since you were the one who wrote the scenarios for the parties. It was your way of avoiding suspicion. A respectable man in his 60s,
early 60s,
who hosts the cream of Cordona's society, cannot possibly be a murderer. But the guests who behave like animals in his mansion, Of course, one of them could have killed Fabio.
I did oversee a few of the rituals, but I did not stage Fabio's death.
You're at the twilight of your life. You have no partner, you have no children. You had feelings, however, for one man. That was Fabio. You loved him. That is, you wished to own him with money and gifts. But he was also a free mind, was he not? He turned his back on you. Quite unjust. Love, so cruel and painful, and Fabio, with his words and deeds, made you feel the more wretched. So you killed him.
You must surely
tient,
perceive
ça.
that my sensitive nature wouldn't allow me to hurt anyone.
Fabio played with your feelings. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way that you would have liked. You wanted to be loved, but Fabio shattered your dreams.
Il aura peut-être seulement 5 ans d'emprisonnement.
He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others.
10 pour avoir simulé la mort.
You were passionate, and so you
La
struggled.
mort.
Once you understood your mistake, it was too late. You were afraid, so you staged the ritual. With such a story, you might be sentenced to a few years. It might clean your conscience, and soon the case will be gone.
No.
This is my decision. I'll talk to Constable Oswald to see what I can do.
Ah. Ok, je pensais que je devais fournir des preuves et tout. Je peux l'accuser aussi, elle.
I'd weep if I had any tears
Juste pour
left
voir
in
ce
me.
qu'elle dit. Ok, allons voir l'agent. Monsieur l'agent.
There's no fool like an old fool. Kurt Manchios did it. A young boy played with the heart of an old man. The latter couldn't handle it. The evidence I obtained clearly shows that the quarrel was not intended to end badly. It was an accident.
Showing pity towards your own kind, Holmes. Whatever.
All I'm saying is that prison won't take much away from an old and crushed man.
Fine. A big name like that will still give me a promotion. As for my part, not everything was in place. Perhaps some documents were transferred somewhere else, but I couldn't find a trace of them. Then I remembered. The discarded document drawers where we put the lost papers or the badly labelled ones.
Ah, donc l'enquête n'est pas finie.
Including the
Ah non,
crime
ok,
scene
c'est...
report of Violet Holmes's case. Everything I found is on the desk here. Take it.
Your persistence has saved me.
Yeah, well, we had a deal after all. Your friend is free then. You can leave.
Good luck, Constable.
Ok. Oh, 120 balles. Affaire terminée, on a eu juste... Ah, je pense. Rapport numéro 0743. L'agent a été dépêché au manoir de Stanwold pour y constater un décès. La mort identifiée comme étant Madame Violet Holmes gisait dans le jardin du manoir. Une inspection visuelle du corps a permis de déterminer que la victime était trempée et portait au cou une profonde entaille verticale et longue de 5 cm. Son visage était gonflé et couvert de rougeur, cause probable de la mort, hypoxie, en attente de confirmation par le médecin légiste. Le suspect principal, Otto Richter, a été arrêté sur place. Le corps a été envoyé pour l'autopsie. Bon. Ok. Du 120 balles. C'est donc ça de résoudre une énigme jusqu'à la fin.
Garden. There's a garden
Un
behind our
chien,
manor.
le manoir, comment je peux l'oublier?
That's where it all
C'est
happened,
là où
where it all
c'était
went
oublié.
wrong.
Sherry, it looks like you've almost found what you wanted.
Oh, il est peut-être à la fin du jeu. Non, il n'est pas du tout à la fin du jeu. Merci noyé. Merci noyé. Sa blessure était peut-être une immobilisation. Tueur ou tentative désespérée de la sauver. Bien ne s'est pas noyé. Okay. Après, je pense pas qu'on est à la fin. Un autre monde passé et remonté à la surface, je me souviens d'arbres en fleurs, des éclats de lumière dans l'étang et d'un belvédère accueillant. Nous avons visiblement un grand jardin à l'arrière du manoir auquel on peut accéder par une porte flanquée dans 2 fenêtres. Ok. Au rez-de-chaussée. Très bien. Toute petite pause pour aller aux toilettes. Puis après, on se fera 2 petites images avant de faire l'histoire principale. Je reviens tout de suite. Un peu de musique. À tout de suite.